Hi, welcome to how to increase the level of fields that TCC has access to, or also known as the entity tree depth level, which is quite the mouthful. But what I want to show you today is that there are cases where you start exporting or you're creating an export script. In this case, I'm working on a transitions or onboarding new hire export, and this is a notorious um, entity to run into depth issues or the level of fields that you have access to because you're starting out from onboarding and you have to use up a couple levels to get to the candidate record or the application record. And then if you want to look at some fields that are a little bit deeper down the path or potentially even on the requisition side, it really starts to become really far down that rabbit hole where TCC doesn't have access to. So one thing to know is that what we're talking about here is if you go into the right-hand side of TCC and you look at your entity, this structure here, what I'm referring to is the number of levels that you can go down, right? So transitions process is your first level. And then anytime you go and expand one of these, like documents and process documents, and then documents down further, each one of these is a level. And so this becomes particularly dicey if you're trying to get things, like I said, that are a little bit deeper on the recruiting side of things, and you're coming from onboarding. So in this case, we start with transitions process, and then we have to go to profile information to even be able to get to candidate or get to application and then requisition. So in this case, what I'm looking for is the state abbreviation of this candidate. So I'm pulling out address, city, zip code, and a lot of these are pretty standard. They're profile information, candidate, address. That's just fine, no problem. I can get that. City, candidate, city, pretty easy to get to. But if I go to, again, I'm in profile information underneath transitions process. So profile information, and I go to the candidate. And then what I want to go into is the residence location, which is going to give me the actual location hierarchy. So remember that when you're looking at address is a field, city is a field, zip code is a field, but residence location is a drop-down menu that gives you the level. So you can choose the country, the state, and then the metro or region, or whatever you call it in your zone. So I'm going to go to the residence location. And what I actually want from here is not the country, not the region location. I want the state location. And when I get to state location here, I just get network location. That's it. Now I know that state location is a network location. And what I really want, if you look at network location, what I want is this abbreviation here for my state code. So what I could do is I could pull in state location, and then I know that the next thing is abbreviation, but I want to be sure that I'm grabbing the right one. So instead of doing this, let's go ahead and save that so that it's set up. What we need to do is we need to go into help, or sorry, we need to go into preferences, and we need to go into client design. So we're under preferences, we're in the client node, and then under design, and you can see here that the maximum depth of the entity tree, that's what we're talking about here. I hope that's clear. Is just 4. So we've gone down 4 levels already, and that's where it stops. So what we need to do is actually increase this and then restart again. So let's go ahead and add 6 here just to be sure that we get it, and we hit OK. And then what we need to do is, let's see if we can open this up again. New hire export. And now let's try again. We're going to go down to profile information, candidate, residence location, and we want the state location. And there now we have the plus available. We can go down, and there's abbreviation. So let's go down here and pull in abbreviation. And we can see this case, it is just the same path that we had expected, but it's not always going to be that straightforward, and you want to be able to go into here and see that, of course. So now I can rename this as state code, and I should be able to export this. One thing to keep in mind is pulling in further levels of the structure really impacts your performance. It really utilizes a lot of memory, and TCC is already not great at managing its memory. So if you run into issues here, like you have multiple scripts open, right? So it's pulling in the entity tree depth of 6 levels for transitions process into memory to be able to have you search through this. So if you have transitions process and then maybe a candidate script and a requisition script, what you're loading is 6 levels of each of those, and you can actually crash TCC. So I recommend keeping this maybe at maximum 5 most of the time. That's fine. And if you need to go a little bit deeper, you can always switch this back. And I recommend, especially if you're going like 6, 7, or 8 levels deep, that you only open up one of these scripts at a time. All right, I hope this helps you find the fields that you've not been able to find because you can't go deep enough into the entity depth. So I hope this helps you dig through your scripts and able to find the fields that you're not able to see because you're not able to go far down enough into the structure. And then, like I said, keep in mind that you don't want to use the maximum amount of depth each time. Again, happy coding.